Hey guys, Joseph Bramante here with Triarch Real Estate Partners.
Robert Mitchell with Triarch Construction.
We are here today on one of 3 properties that we are currently renovating. This one is 88 units, and we've been renovating it for a couple of months now. We are now at that stage where we're painting the exterior. We've got the primer all the way on, and we just did our first coat of the new color. So as you can see behind us, we're in the shade right now, but it's a real kind of light gray. It's called Tin Master.
Tin Master.
Yeah, so it's not white. White was our original choice, the designer's choice, and we liked it as well. But the problem with the white was the durability of it. Its ability to, it basically looked dirty in a relatively short period of time, and it caused us to have to pressure wash it a lot.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of long-term maintenance. I mean, maybe every 2 months you have to pressure wash all the buildings, especially on the street side and the parking lot side where you're going to have road grime and vehicles coming by it a lot. So choosing a little bit darker color, I think, so it'll make it not stand out so much.
Yeah.
Lessen the amount of times you got to pressure wash during the whole period.
Yeah, and you really, when you're doing these rehabs, you really got to be careful with, there's a lot of things that sound like a great idea, and you do them. Painting a really light color that's going to require a lot of pressure washing is one of them. Other things like resurfacing, I know it's very popular, but resurfacing causes a lot of operational costs to your operational team after you've done the renovation. So we're really careful not to increase our OPEX on an annual basis by, in this case, choosing the wrong color. So you've got all the windows taped up. How long is that going to be able to stay on the window for?
It's been up there for about a week now. I mean, we'll be taking it back down. I mean, that stuff will come off pretty quick. Since we have the paint color on the building, there's no more need for it. We're not painting any trim paint around the windows, so it shouldn't be an issue at all.
And so what is this coming out of our wall?
Don't grab it. Be careful when you grab it. It's the 220 circuit for the new washer and dryer connections that we put in every unit.
Right.
It'll run through the conduit back to the breaker panels. Depending on which one. This one, the run ends maybe 10, 15 feet, but we have some that run 40 or 50 feet down the back around the building to get back to the breaker panel, as you see on the street side earlier.
Yeah.
So when we were adding the washer and dryer connections, we had to run a complete new circuit that was dedicated to the washer and dryer. We had plenty of room in our breaker panels, but we didn't have enough. We couldn't attach it to another circuit that was there, or we were having problems with tripping the breakers and not having enough power to run the washer and dryer unit.
Yeah. And so that's why we have these exterior conduits going to our breakers over there to get the power they need.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the only way to do it, the right way to do it, actually. I mean, go that way instead of having your maintenance.
What's the wrong way to do it? I'm curious.
Attaching it to a 220 circuit that's already in the unit, and that would cause problems because you can't carry that. We have to have an individual breaker for the washer and dryer, but people do it all the time where they attach another circuit to an existing circuit and then they wonder why the breakers trip all the time.
So when not done correctly, basically the operations team is left with a lot of breakers tripping on a regular basis.
There's no temporary fix for it. It would be something the maintenance guys would be pulling their hair out over. Sometimes maintenance men will try to install a higher amperage breaker, but that just creates a fire hazard. You don't want that at all.
Okay. Yeah, fire hazards are no good. So, all right. Well, we've actually got some really cool stuff to show you guys on the interior. Actually, you just talked about this yesterday. I got the change order, and I saw the photos, and wow. So we've got basically a ceiling, and the joists that hold up the ceiling are rotten and caving in.
Caving in, and we got some plywood, wood rot underneath there. Some things that we're definitely not seeing. We thought we were going to run into these problems when we started redoing the roofs. And this is our first unit that we actually have a major issue in.
Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that when you're doing these big renovations or just doing any kind of acquisition really for an older property that has flat roofs that maybe, like in this one, they haven't been changed. Probably, how long do you think it'd be since they changed that roof?
I don't know, because they put layers on layers, and they're one of the examples of really, really bad work, and it was probably done by an on-site maintenance guy, was they actually put a blue tarp down and then put a roofing compound over the top of it. and that was just pouring water in. And then we also had areas where at some point someone sprayed some kind of foam over the top of it, and when we were demoing the roof, we were taking out 8-9 inches in some areas, 1 to 2 inches in other areas, and some up to 12, 13 inches of foam. And that's one of the areas that we're at now, where the evidence of the water damage that they just covered up instead of actually doing what you did or what we did and take off all of the roof and then put it back on.
Yeah. And one of the good things about doing these big value adds is, if it was just that repair alone, I mean, it would probably be a lot more versus what we're having to pay to repair it, because everything's already exposed. Really, we're just taking for labor and materials at that point.
If we were doing this in an occupied unit, your cost would probably be 3 to 4 times higher. Or a unit that didn't have sheetrock already torn out, where we had to put everything back, you already have those costs built into your rehab budget.
Right.
So that's how that works out.
Very cool. And then the other thing we're going to show you guys is, we all know that these old properties, 1970s, 60s, 80s, they all have, all these properties that have the galvanized piping. Over time, we know it becomes a huge issue, particularly with leaks, low water pressure, clogging, and now, because we're on this property, we're actually redoing all the plumbing. So there's going to be really nothing left of the old plumbing. Just the trunk lines, I believe, they're still in good condition. But for the most part, the bulk of all the plumbing is being replaced. So we felt there's a pretty good opportunity to go and take one of these old pipes, cut it open, and let's see what the inside actually looks like. Let's see what a 1970s galvanized pipe looks like on the inside, so that whenever you're buying these things, you have an idea of what it really looks like.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys, let's go. All right, guys, so we're in the back of the property where there used to be one of these large kind of shipping containers that was used for storage and kind of as a makeshift maintenance shop. We don't have any need for that anymore. We've relocated the maintenance shop, and so we were just left with this giant storage container. So we went ahead and had the whole thing removed, and what we noticed upon removal was that we had several layers of asphalt here, from the original to what is now the new asphalt. And for us to basically blend this in would have required pretty extensive costs on our end to build it up to the level it needs to be and then overlay all this once more. So we went ahead and looked at options to use it for something else, and dog park made perfect sense. Originally, we were going to put the dog park in another location of the property, but this one was already kind of, it just made more sense to use what we had here and convert it to the dog park. So what we're going to do, Robert, why don't you tell people what we're going to do to make this conversion?
Well, what we plan on doing is cutting it back to where the red no parking line is to give a bigger area. And probably about midway here, we'll cut it all the way down. We'll remove the rest of the asphalt, bring in some soil, maybe some AstroTurf, put a fence around it, a couple of features so the dogs can play, benches for the owners to sit in. It's a really good value add, I think, and especially the demographic that we're targeting. A lot of them have pets, and there's not a lot of room to do things with all the amenities we're going to have in the courtyard, so this is going to be, I think, a really good feature.
And I'm thinking probably some sort of sunshade as well,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we've just been on here for a few minutes and we're already cooking.
Yeah.
It's not even summertime
Yeah,
yet.
wait till it's 110 degrees.
So probably some sort of cover so residents will enjoy just relaxing.
Maybe
while they're-
even copy the design of the pergola that you're going to put out here and put it in here.
Very good option.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see. When do you think we'll be starting on this?
Probably right around the beginning to the middle of June.
Yeah.
We plan on having all the exterior major renovations done, including the asphalt parking lot and seal coat, and then we'll come in and put the rest of the features in.
All right, very cool, man. All right, so there you have it. There you see an example of how you're doing these value adds, and you are presented with different scenarios, different opportunities, and you have to do your best to kind of get creative and imaginative and how you can take a bad situation where we're looking at having to spend more money to bring this concrete or this asphalt and make it level versus converting it to a dog park and kind of get 2 birds in 1 stone there.
So this corrosion that you see is typical of anything that has galvanized pipe, and this is actually from the moisture on the outside. But the real problem is if you take a look inside, this pipe is about 25% clogged, and if that was your heart valve, they'd be putting a stent in there. So that's what we're doing by putting new pipe.
So, and this is a kind of mild example, right? I mean, we've gotten
Oh, some of the stuff we get are 50 to 60% clogged, where you have that rust buildup that's there, which would make the water taste really terrible too.
so this pipe was, hold on, let me see.
This is
It was like that just now, right?
well, yeah, this pipe is actually going to be your hot water side.
That's our hot water line.
Yeah, this hot water line feeds up to your shower head, so that's where that cut came from. This is what the union's for, the 90.
Got you. And so is it at these corners where you would expect to see the most?
Really, where we see the most is that where the fixtures are at, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, we've demoed all the fixtures here, and we've already gotten there. We'd have a better example of it, but it's usually wherever the water stops and goes into like your stems, like in
Yeah.
there. That's where you'll see a lot of the buildup. Real bad examples. Have the main pipe will be full of it, and this is not that bad because it's only 40 years old. Some of this
Right.
galvanized has been around 50, 60 years, and it's real bad. And those are the ones that are super leaky.
Got you. So, yeah, I'm surprised there's so much of the wall left as well. I was thinking in my own mind that you'd have a lot less of this
Well, so
wall.
what they have they're called cold water bonds, and it's a ground basically that they hook to the water feed into the building that runs to your ground rod breaker panel. Which, if this thing didn't have that, the electricity that was that occurred by the water moving against the metal would eat it up really quick. So
Okay.
they figured that out and started requiring people to do cold water bonds before I ever started doing this, but probably somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s.
So back to what you were saying earlier, typically where you see most of this is going to be near the faucets or in the faucet?
The faucet's definitely, that's where everything comes. So, this pipe is a half-inch pipe, and your stem is probably a quarter-inch total, and your stem is what feeds the water into your
Right.
fixture. So where that, reduces down into the stem, that's where you're going to get most of your buildup at. And as I said earlier, most of that stuff's already been demoed. But you see that problem whenever people start getting low water pressure. They're like, oh, we got to change our faucets, we got to change our fixture, this and that, or the stems in your valve bodies for your shower fixtures. And that's where you see the majority of it, for sure.
So say you're buying a deal, say we're buying our next deal, and it's same vintage, 1970s, and we don't have the budget to replumb it. Would a good alternative be just to replace all of the faucets and fixtures?
And it wind up being another deferred maintenance item that you need to just budget for throughout the entire process of your holding time.
Yeah.
You'd always want to make sure that you have enough, plumbing in your ops budget to change those fixtures when they need to get changed, because the buildup breaks loose, and so that stuff gets smaller, then it clogs up your valve stems and your
Right.
faucets, your aerator, stuff like that. People think they don't have any water, but the problem is that there's just stuff built up in there. A lot of it's calcium that just builds up real bad in there, and that's kind of.
But it's not necessarily always the pipe. So if you have a property that has low water pressure, then the issue could be
aerators, valve stems. I mean, all those different things.
Right.
The valve body, the stem in there, is notorious in showers. You'll get people all the time calling about that. So.
Very cool. All right, man. Learn something every day. All right, so now we finished looking at plumbing, what 1970s galvanized plumbing looks like. Let's go take a look at the collapsed roof. Is this safe to be right here?
Yeah. Your life insurance is good. Whenever we started demoing this unit, we discovered some pretty rotten joists. You can see part of those joists were coming down when we were demoing, and we actually.
And they've actually started renovating this already.
No. This is bad repair work. So what happened is, over the years, this is going to be your original roof decking, your OSB, and that's layers and layers of roof that they put plywood on top of. This is a bad repair from maybe a maintenance guy from this, or maybe it was a subcontractor or a general contractor who just did a shitty job. But it was a bad repair done to keep the sheetrock up whenever they had a really bad roof leak. This joist is completely gone, which is pretty insane. But this is what happens whenever, on the operational side and the ownership side, when you don't have the budget to fix the stuff and you're running through and short on money, and you just kind of patch it, which leads to long-term damage to your asset.
Yeah. I mean, if you're walking on the roof up there and you having the step right here, I mean, what's keeping you up?
Layers of foam.
So you're just like walking on a trampoline up there at that point, because there's nothing directly below you keeping you up.
This area of the roof was the first area that we demoed. This was the first area that we demoed, and we took it down. We had the roof actually core drilled to see how thick it was, so we could put the proper amount of new TPO on top. So we didn't get all the way down to the original stuff, but this is one of the areas where they had spray foam that was 8 to 9 inches thick on this side of this building, which is, I don't know what application that's correct in, but this is actually a load bearing member here. And I mean, you got 2 of them that are completely rotten.
Wow.
That's long term, you know, we're not gonna fix it. And you can see, you know, they use the great stuff on here, which is definitely a maintenance man. They think that fixes everything in duct tape, so.
How do you repair this? Like, this looks, I don't even know where to begin with something like this.
With a little bell and wire and some duct tape.
That's it?
We can fix it all.
And great stuff as well.
Yeah, actually what we'll do is we'll come in here with what we, their shore post, which will hold up the load bearing area, where the joists actually tie in to this on both sides. So we'll hold that up, we'll remove these members first, with shore posts on either side holding the weight of the roof up, and then we'll put it back in. Where we splice the joint, it's probably gonna be right above this wall, and we'll probably have a joist hanger on this wall that connects it to an actual good piece of lumber. If we get to the other side and that lumber's not any good, then we'll have to continue to the occupied unit next door.
Woo.
And
Your next door's occupied?
yeah.
Ooh.
And you know, this is the easy part. And I say easy, this is the part that isn't so scary, because what is scary is that this is what carries the load of the roof. This load bearing 2x8 runs all the way through the apartment. And the shore post, I mean, when you're doing this stuff, I mean, you're putting a lot of weight on them, but we get the right equipment to get it done.
Do we know if we have any ACs directly above us right here?
No. AC units, I don't know. I don't see any indication. Normally where all these packet units are, we have like conduit coming down, or the wires coming in with the low voltage. I don't see.
The wires going up right there.
That's probably the power to the unit.
Yeah.
Because the unit actually is right here. Like the duct.
This is the duct, right? Or close to it.
Yeah, somewhere.
Oh, maybe it's that.
Yeah, okay, so this one feeds in from over here. So yeah, that's where the AC actually feeds into. This duct feeds in from here, and it'll come in, and the return will be right over this door. So this will all be returned back whenever we put the seal in, but we can't put the seal
So
in.
within like 10 feet, there's like several 100-pound air conditioning unit just.
Oh yeah. And it was engineered right. The load bearers are all in the right spot. Just, you know, flat roofs are a maintenance problem. It's just something you got to continue to take care of, and a lot of times people don't take care of it. They think that patchwork's okay, not using blackboard, you know, just, you know, going over it. Like I told you earlier about the guy putting the tarp with like a TPO sealant on top of it. I mean, that's not, I mean, literally there was water underneath it. I mean, it smelled like it was 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the quick, easy fix isn't always the right way to go. It's most of the time not the right way to go.
All right, guys. So that's what a rotten joist and 1970s galvanized plumbing looks like. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. Until next time, be safe.